Ukraine official. Zelenskyy meets top-level U.S. delegation. An advisor to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said the U.S. Secretaries of State and Defense were meeting with the Ukrainian leader in the highest level. Visito Kyiv by an American delegation since the start of the Russian invasion. Kyiv, Ukraine. The U.S. Secretaries of State and Defense met Sunday night with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy in the highest-level visit to the war-torn country's capital by an American delegation since the start of Russia's invasion. The meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin was confirmed by presidential advisor Oleksiy Arestovich in an interview on Ukrainian TV. It came as Ukraine pressed the West for more powerful weapons against Russia's campaign in the Donbas region of eastern Ukraine, where Moscow's forces sought to dislodge the last Ukrainian troops in the battered port of Mariupol. Yes, they're meeting with the president. Let's hope something will be decided on further help, Arestovich said in an interview on Ukrainian TV. Before the session, Zelenskyy said he was looking for the Americans to produce results, both in arms and security guarantees. You can't come to us empty-handed today, and we are expecting not just presents or some kind of cakes, we are expecting specific things and specific weapons, The visit would be the first by senior U.S. officials since Russia invaded 60 days ago. Blinken stepped briefly onto Ukrainian soil in March to meet with the country's foreign minister during a visit to Poland. Zelenskyy's last face-to-face meeting with a top U.S. official was February 19 in Munich with Vice President Kamala Harris. While the West has funneled military equipment to Ukraine, Zelenskyy has stressed repeatedly it needs more heavy weapons, including long-range air defense systems, as well as warplanes. In an apparent boost for Ukraine, polling agencies said French President Emmanuel Macron would win re-election over far-right candidate Marine Le Pen. The result was hailed by France's allies in the European Union as a reassuring sign of stability and continued support for Ukraine. France has played a leading role in international efforts to punish Russia with sanctions and is supplying weapons systems to Ukraine. Zelenskyy's meeting with U.S. officials was set to take place as Ukrainians and Russians observed Orthodox Easter, when the faithful celebrate the resurrection of Jesus. Speaking from Kyiv's ancient St. Sophia Cathedral, Zelenskyy, who is Jewish, highlighted its significance to a nation racked by nearly 2 months of the great holiday today gives us great hope and unwavering faith that light will overcome darkness, good will overcome evil, life will overcome death, and therefore Ukraine will surely win, he said. Still, the war cast a shadow over celebrations. In the northern village of Ivanivka, where Russian tanks still littered the roads, Olena Koptel said the Easter holiday doesn't bring any joy. I'm crying a lot. We cannot forget how we lived. Viktor Lobush of Kyiv said Ukraine needs more weapons and financial support, and for Western nations, not to buy even a drop of the Russian oil. Actions, not words, are needed, he said on Independence Square. The Russian military reported hitting 423 Ukrainian targets overnight, including fortified positions and troop concentrations, while its warplanes destroyed 26 Ukrainian military sites, including an explosives factory and several artillery depots. Most of Sunday's fighting focused on the Donbas region, where Ukrainian forces are concentrated and where Moscow-backed separatists controlled some territory before the war. Since failing to capture Kyiv, the Russians are aiming to gain full control over the eastern industrial heartland. Ukraine's national police said 2 girls, aged 5 and 14, died in shelling in the town of Ocheretin, part of the industrial region. Russian forces launched fresh airstrikes on a Mariupol steel plant where an estimated 1,000 civilians are sheltering along with about 2,000 Ukrainian fighters. The Azovstal steel mill where the defenders are holed up is the last corner of resistance in the city, which the Russians have otherwise occupied. Zelenskyy said he stressed the need to evacuate civilians from Mariupol, including from the steel plant, in a Sunday call with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who is scheduled to speak later with Russian leader Vladimir Putin. Zelenskyy advisor Oleksiy Arestovich said Ukraine has proposed talks with Russia next to the sprawling steel mill. Arestovich said on the Telegram messaging app that Russia has not responded to the proposal that would include establishing humanitarian corridors and the exchange of Russian war prisoners for the fighters still in the plant. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres is scheduled to travel to Turkey on Monday and then Moscow and Kyiv. Zelenskyy: it was a mistake for Guterres to visit Russia before Ukraine. Why? To hand over signals from Russia? What should we look for? Zelenskyy said Saturday. There are no corpses scattered on the Kutuzovsky Prospect, he said, referring to one of Moscow's main avenues. Mariupol has seen fierce fighting since the start of the war due to its location on the Sea of Azov. Its capture would deprive Ukraine of a vital port, free up Russian troops to fight elsewhere, and allow Moscow to establish a land corridor to the Crimean Peninsula, which it seized from Ukraine in 2014. More than 100,000 people, down from a pre-war population of about 430,000, are believed to remain in Mariupol with scant food, water or heat. Ukrainian authorities estimate over 20,000 civilians have been killed. Recent satellite images showed what appeared to be mass graves to the west and east of Mariupol. Mikhailo Podolyak, another presidential advisor, tweeted that the Russian military was attacking the plant with heavy bombs and artillery while accumulating force and equipment for a direct assault. During a Saturday address to the nation, Zelenskyy accused Russians of committing war crimes by killing civilians, as well as of setting up filtration camps near Mariupol for those trying to leave the city. He said the Ukrainians, many of them children, are then sent to areas under Russian occupation or to Russia itself, often as far as Siberia or the Far East. The claims could not be independently verified, but they were repeated by Ukrainian lawmaker Yevhenia Kravchuk on ABC's This Week. They have pulled these people from Mariupol. They are put to filtration camps. It's sort of something that can't be happening in the 21st century, Kravchuk said. Zelenskyy claimed that intercepted communications recorded Russian troops discussing how they conceal the traces of their crimes in Mariupol. He also highlighted the death of a 3-month-old girl in a Russian missile strike Saturday on the Black Sea port of Odessa. In attacks Saturday, Russian forces pounded cities and towns in southern and eastern Ukraine. The baby was among 8 people killed when Russia fired cruise missiles at Odessa, Ukrainian officials said. Ukrainian news agency UNIAN, citing social media, reported that the infant's mother, Valeria Glodin, and grandmother also died when a missile hit a residential area. Zelenskyy promised to find and punish those responsible. The war started when this baby was 1 month old, Zelenskyy said. Can you imagine what is happening? They are filthy scum, there are no other words for the Donbass offensive. Russia has reassembled troops who fought around Kyiv and in northern Ukraine. The British Ministry of Defense said Ukrainian forces had repelled numerous assaults in the past week and inflicted significant cost on Russian forces. Poor Russian morale and limited time to reconstitute, re-equip and reorganize forces from prior offensives are likely hindering Russian combat effectiveness, the ministry said. The spiritual leaders of the world's Orthodox Christians and Roman Catholics appealed for relief for Ukraine's suffering population. From Istanbul, Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew I said a human tragedy was unfolding. Bartholomew, considered the first among his Eastern Orthodox patriarch, cited in particular the thousands of people surrounded in Mariupol, civilians, among them the wounded, the elderly, women and many children. Pope Francis, speaking from a window overlooking St. Peter's Square, renewed his call for an Easter truce, calling it a minimal and tangible sign of a desire for peace. Associated Press journalists Jessica Fish in Sloviansk, Ukraine, Mstislav Chernov and Felipe Dana in Kharkiv, Ukraine, Yuras Karmanow in Lviv, Kara Anna Ina Varenitsia and Alexander Stashevsky in Kyiv, and AP staff around the world contributed. Follow the app's coverage of the war at https://apnews.com/hub/Russia-Ukraine.